Welcome back to my channel USA Liberty World Coin and Coin Lovers. Today, we're taking a close look at two fascinating U.S. quarters, the 1970 Washington Quarter and the 1976 Bicentennial Washington Quarter. Stay with us as we explore their history, unique features. Let's get started today. We are talking about exactly one coin, and that coin is the 1970 Washington Quarter. If you have a quarter dated 1970 with a small D mint mark, stay with me because there are some very interesting details you will want to know before you spend it. The 1970 Washington Quarter was produced at the Denver Mint, and the D mint mark identifies Denver as the facility where this coin was struck. According to NGC, the issue had a mintage of 417,340,1,364 coins. At first glance, this may look like an ordinary American quarter, but collectors know that a coin's value can depend on much more than its date. Condition, strike quality, varieties, errors, and certification can all dramatically change what collectors are willing to pay. The story of the Washington Quarter itself goes back to 1932, when the United States introduced the design honoring George Washington. The obverse was designed by John Flanagan, whose portrait of Washington became one of the most recognizable designs in American coinage. By 1970, the quarter had already gone through an important transformation. After the United States moved away from silver composition for regular quarters in 1965, the 1970 D quarter was struck in copper-nickel clad composition rather than traditional silver. NGC lists the 1970 D quarter as a copper-nickel clad coin with a weight of 5.67 grams, a diameter of 24.3 millimeters, and a reeded edge. This change in composition is important because it separates the 1970 D quarter from the earlier silver Washington quarters. So when you find a 1970 D, you should not automatically assume that its value comes from silver content. Instead, the exciting part for collectors comes from the coin's condition, and especially from varieties and errors that can make particular examples much more desirable. One of the most interesting varieties associated with the 1970 D Washington Quarter is the double die obverse, commonly identified as FS101. This variety has attracted serious attention from collectors because the doubling is part of the die variety rather than ordinary damage that happened after the coin left the mint. Great Collections records 1970 D Washington Quarter double die obverse, FS. 101 examples selling for prices ranging from $56 to $952.88 in the auction history it lists. The highest example in that record was an AU-53 coin that sold for $952.88. That is the kind of discovery that makes searching through old coins exciting. A normal-looking quarter can become much more interesting when a genuine mint variety is present. The 1970 D FS101 variety is especially interesting because the recognized variety includes double die characteristics on the obverse, along with a repunched D mint mark. That combination gives collectors another reason to examine the coin carefully. So what should you look for? Start with the date, 1970, and then look for the D mint mark indicating Denver. After that, carefully examine the lettering and other design details on the obverse. Pay particular attention around Liberty, In God We Trust, and the date area. Genuine double die characteristics can show separation or additional design impressions, but you should be careful because scratches, machine doubling, and postment damage can look confusingly similar. A small magnifying glass or a good quality camera can help you inspect the coin. However, if you think you have found a significant variety, professional authentication is one of the smartest steps you can take. Condition is another major factor. A heavily circulated 1970D quarter and a sharply preserved mint state example can have very different collector appeal. The NGC price guide currently lists ordinary 1970D examples in circulated grades at roughly 30 cents to 85 cents, while its guide reaches $110 for a top-listed mint state level. PCGS also shows how dramatically the value can rise as grade improves. Its current guide lists the 1970D at increasing values through higher mint state grades, with particularly strong numbers at the very highest grades. This is why you should never judge an old quarter only by its age. The condition of the coin can be just as important as the year stamped on it. A beautiful coin with strong details, clean surfaces, excellent luster, and a sharp strike can attract considerably more attention than an ordinary circulated example. But there is an even more exciting possibility: an authenticated variety or major mint error. The 1970D doubled die obverse FS101 demonstrates exactly why collectors study these coins so carefully. One documented example reached $952.88 at auction, showing that a genuine rare variety can command a dramatically higher price than a normal example. There are also reports and collector discussions surrounding unusual 1970 quarters struck on incorrect planchets, including thin examples associated with dime stock. Such pieces can be extremely interesting when they are genuine and properly authenticated. The important lesson is that unusual appearance alone does not guarantee a huge price. Authentication, measurements, weight, and professional attribution can make the difference between an interesting-looking coin and a recognized collectible rarity. For the regular 1970D quarter, the biggest opportunity is therefore not simply owning a coin from 1970. The real excitement comes from finding an unusually well-preserved specimen or a genuine recognized variety. If you discover one in an old collection, inherited coin group, coin jar, or box of change, do not rush to clean it. Cleaning can permanently damage the original surface and may reduce collector interest. Instead, hold the coin by its edges and examine it under good lighting. Look at the date, mint mark, lettering, Washington's portrait, and overall surfaces. If you believe you have discovered the FS1, one double die variety, or another major error, consider sending the coin to a respected grading and authentication service. A certified coin gives buyers greater confidence because the grade and variety have been professionally evaluated. Now let's talk about the maximum value. For a normal 1970D Washington Quarter, documented price guides do not support the idea that every example is worth thousands or millions. But for exceptional coins and especially recognized varieties, the numbers can become much more exciting. For the documented 1970D doubled die obverse FS1, a one variety, Great Collections reports a top sale of $952.88 among the examples in its auction archive. That nearly $1,000 result is exactly why collectors should pay attention to this date and mint mark. The right variety in the right condition can turn an otherwise familiar quarter into a serious collectible. And remember, auction prices can change. A coin's final selling price depends on grade, eye appeal, authentication, rarity, timing, and competition between buyers. The 1970D quarter also represents an interesting period in American coinage history. It came during the era when the United States was producing clad quarters after the transition away from silver regular-issue quarters. With more than 417 million 1970D quarters struck, the date itself is not the only thing that creates rarity. The truly exciting pieces are the ones with exceptional preservation or distinctive, authenticated varieties. So if you have a 1970D Washington Quarter, take another look before putting it into circulation. Check the condition, study the details, and compare the coin carefully with recognized variety information. Do not be discouraged if your coin does not immediately look spectacular. Collecting is all about learning how to recognize the small differences that other people might overlook. And that is what makes this hobby so exciting. You can start with a simple quarter and with patience and knowledge, learn to identify die varieties, mint errors, high-grade coins, and other unusual pieces. Next coin, the United States Bicentennial Washington Quarter, dated 1776-1976, is one of the most recognizable commemorative coins in American history, created to celebrate 200 years of American independence. This special quarter is fascinating because it carries the dual date 1776-1976 instead of a normal single year, instantly connecting the coin to the nation's bicentennial celebration. The story of this quarter begins with America's upcoming 200th anniversary. The United States Mint wanted the circulating coins to become part of the celebration, so special designs were created for the quarter, $50 and $1. The Washington Quarter received a completely different reverse design featuring a colonial drummer, making the 1776-1976 quarter one of the most distinctive Washington quarters ever produced. The obverse still features the famous portrait of George Washington, accompanied by the inscriptions Liberty and In God We Trust. The dual date 1776-1976 appears beneath Washington, representing the 200-year span from the Declaration of Independence to the bicentennial celebration. The reverse is where this coin becomes especially interesting. Instead of the traditional eagle used on regular Washington quarters, the bicentennial quarter features a colonial drummer facing left, with a victory torch and 13 stars representing the original 13 colonies. The inscriptions United States of America, EPLURIBUS UNUM, and quarter dollar complete the design. The reverse was designed by Jack L.R., whose colonial drummer design became one of the most memorable images ever placed on a U.S. circulating quarter. The design was selected through a national competition, and its historical symbolism helped make the coin an instant collector favorite. The bicentennial quarter was struck during 1975 and 1976, but every example carries the dual date 1776-1976. This means that even though some coins were physically struck in 1975, the date on the coin remains 1776-1976. There is another important detail that collectors should understand. These quarters were produced at different United States mint facilities, and the mint mark can make a major difference when identifying a particular example. Philadelphia examples generally have no mint mark, Denver examples carry a D, and San Francisco examples carry an S. The metal composition is another major factor. Most circulating bicentennial quarters were made from copper-nickel-clad material, while special 40% silver versions were also produced for collectors. That silver composition can immediately make certain examples more desirable. If you have a 1776-1976 quarter, the first thing to do is carefully examine the coin. Look at the date, mint mark, surfaces, lettering, drummer design, edges, and overall condition. Small details can separate an ordinary-looking example from a coin that attracts serious collector attention. Condition is one of the biggest factors influencing the potential value of this historic quarter. A coin with heavy circulation marks has a very different collector appeal from a brilliant, sharply struck example preserved in exceptional mint state condition. The difference becomes even more dramatic at the highest certified grades. PCGS lists the 1976 D-clad bicentennial quarter with a value range reaching thousands of dollars in top condition, while certain recognized varieties can reach substantially higher levels. One of the most exciting varieties to investigate is the 1976D double die obverse, including the FS1, a 1 variety. This is where the story changes from a regular bicentennial quarter into a potentially major numismatic discovery. Graysheet currently lists the 1976D clad double die obverse FS1, a 1 variety, with a value range extending from about $110 to as much as $7,500, depending heavily on grade and condition. That makes this variety one of the most important versions of the 1776-1976 quarter for collectors to investigate. This is why you should never look at the date alone. Two quarters can both say 1776-1976 while having dramatically different collector potential because of their mint mark, composition, variety, strike quality, and condition. The 1976 S Silver Bicentennial Quarter is another important version. Graysheet currently shows the 1976 S 40% Silver Mint State issue reaching a listed value of up to $6,600, demonstrating how valuable exceptional examples of the series can become. The silver-proof versions are also highly collectible. Graysheet lists 1976 S silver-proof examples in different proof designations, with values reaching as high as $115, depending on the exact variety and designation. Proof coins can become especially interesting when they combine exceptional preservation with a high professional grade. Modern collectors often compete for the finest certified examples, and that competition can push the price of an otherwise familiar coin far beyond what someone might expect. The clad-proof version has its own collector market as well. Current market data shows high-grade 1976 S-clad-proof examples reaching more than $100 in some top grades, while NGC auction data shows strong collector interest in high-grade specimens. The lesson here is simple. The word bicentennial does not automatically tell you the entire story of the coin. You have to identify exactly which version you own. Another important factor is professional certification. A coin that appears extremely impressive to the naked eye can receive a different grade after examination by a professional grading service. Certification can establish the grade and variety, giving serious collectors greater confidence when buying or selling. If your quarter appears unusually sharp, bright, and well-preserved, avoid cleaning it. Cleaning can damage the original surface and potentially reduce collector appeal. Instead, preserve the coin carefully and consider professional authentication and grading if the coin appears to have significant characteristics. Collectors should also examine the lettering and date for possible doubling. A genuine double die variety is different from ordinary machine doubling or damage, so authentication is important before assuming a coin is a major rarity. The famous Drummer Boy reverse also deserves close inspection. Look around the lettering, stars, torch, drummer, and other design elements for unusual doubling, striking characteristics, or abnormalities. The edge can provide additional clues. A normal clad quarter has a visible copper-colored layer between the outer surfaces, while a 40% silver bicentennial quarter has different composition characteristics. However, edge appearance alone should not be used as the final test for authenticity or composition. The mint mark is equally important. If your coin carries a D, it was struck at the Denver Mint. If it carries an S, it can indicate a San Francisco proof or silver issue depending on the coin. A quarter without a mint mark is generally associated with Philadelphia production. The 1976 Philadelphia clad bicentennial quarter is particularly interesting in high grades. PCGS identifies the Philadelphia issue as the scarcer of the two regular clad circulation issues in terms of mintage and high-grade availability, making pristine examples attractive to condition-focused collectors. That means the real treasure hunt is not simply finding the oldest-looking quarter. It is finding the right combination of variety, condition, composition, and certification. So how much could a 1976 Bicentennial Quarter be worth today? The answer can range dramatically depending on the exact variety. Regular collector examples can have modest premiums, while high-grade, silver, proof, and especially recognized error or double-die varieties can reach hundreds or thousands of dollars. For a truly exceptional coin, the maximum potential becomes much more exciting. Current graysheet data places the listed value of the 1976 D double-die obverse FS1, a one variety, as high as $7,500, while other exceptional bicentennial varieties also reach several $1,000s. That $7,500 figure should be viewed as a top-end guide value for the specific variety and grade rather than a guaranteed selling price. Actual auction results can change depending on certification, eye appeal, rarity, market demand, and competition between collectors.